Hello, everybody, and welcome right here to the MSAHA Basketball Weekly Show. I am Trellis Williams right here in Byram, Mississippi, bringing you this show. And we're going to start off. We do not have our co-host here today. He is out. He is out of town from his studio where he could join us. So we do not have Ollie Hammonds here today with us. So you are stuck with me. Trellis Williams right here with the TSW Network. So go ahead, hit the subscribe button to the TSW Network YouTube. Subscribe to the TSW Network YouTube. That is where MSAHA related content is on the TSJW Network YouTube. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button right now. So we're going to go back to this past week, starting with some 16U boys action. The Mount Zion Lions defeated the Jackson Victors in Ridgeland, Mississippi. And so Mount Zion got that win. It was a big win for Mount Zion there. Mount Zion, they were able to get wins over Meridian and against Jackson. So Mount Zion starting to gain some steam here. There for the Lions. They took losses to Hattiesburg and Muddy River, two really strong teams this season. So they are definitely looking to make a run here in the league. And now that was the only 16U boys game we had from the past week. So now we got some girls action from the past week. And now big thing that happened in Jackson, Mississippi was the Cross-State Classic, the Mississippi-Arkansas Cross-State Classic. So there were some Arkansas homeschool teams and Mississippi homeschool teams competing against each other there in Jackson. First score I have here is the Laurel Lady Hawks defeated the Mount Zion Lions 79-14. There's a big win there for Laurel. They were hitting shots from the outside. Just had a good performance there for the Lady Hawks. Mount Zion took a big loss there to Laurel. Laurel also defeated the Muddy River Counselors 66-8. So two big blowouts from the Lady Hawks, looking strong there. Now, what was tough for Laurel is that they end up taking their first loss of the season as they lost to the Saline County ball club, the Warriors, the Saline County Warriors. They lost to them 58-54, so a close loss, but the first loss of the season for the Lady Hawks. Last season they went 23-3 overall, so now they lost a game right there. The Hattiesburg Forerunners defeated Mount Zion 34-31. That was a close matchup. Hattiesburg was able to pull it out. They defeated the Muddy River Counselors 47-12. Executed very well. Hattiesburg in that game was able to handle the Counselors. And then the Muddy River Counselors lost to the Saline County Warriors 54-20. And then Hattiesburg lost to Saline County by a pretty decent margin there. So Saline County was able to get 3 wins there. And they were able to knock off the Lady Hawks and defeat the Hattiesburg Forerunners as well. And by the way, we will be talking with Coach Gygi of the Hattiesburg Forerunners girls squad, also assistant coach for the boys. We'll be talking to him after we get through these games, and so that will be coming up later on in the show. And so now for some 18U boys action. The Muddy River Counselors defeated the Meridian Flyers by a score of 82-42, a 40-point win for the Counselors. The Laurel Nighthawks lost to the Faulkner Falcons. They dropped that ball game by about 15. Jackson Victors lost to the Faulkner Falcons as well. They lost 60-46. That was kind of stayed right there in that 12 to 14 point margin for a while. The Victors hung in there, but Faulkner was able to get the win. Faulkner was a good team that came down from Arkansas area. They actually hosted the Cross-State Classic last season. So then the Scott County Flames took a loss to Saline County. They lost 80-46 in that ball game. Scott County also lost to Little Rock by a very good margin. Little Rock Flames also were in the Classic, and they got 3 wins. They defeated the Muddy River Counselors 91-54. They won that game. Just great shooting. They also had some height and some players who could really play on that ball club. They were able to beat Scott County, beat Muddy River, and Jackson all in the weekend. They also beat Laurel as well, so they played 4 ball games and won them all. So they were the only team to come out with no losses there in the boys realm. And but then a big game was the Scott County Flames and the Jackson Victors. They took each other on, and Scott County was able to notch that win 71-70. A big win there. Very good game there. And you're talking about guys that can score from both teams. Scott County has a very good squad. They got Ellis Bowles over there, who he had a very good weekend. Showed out in the weekend for sure. And they also have John Crenshaw as well, who can really shoot the basketball, and definitely other players there solid there for Scott County. Jackson Victors, they got Jude Williams, a very good shooter there. John White, a good big fella in the lane. Got Brady Sygrist, Ethan Baum, and those fellas. And so they took each other on 71-70, a very close ball game there. And so that'll wrap up our scores from this past week. Also, in another non-conference game, the Muddy River Counselors took on the Hillcrest Christian Cougars. Hillcrest plays in the Jackson area. They're in Jackson, and the Muddy River Counselors are able to get the big win, the upset win there at home, 74-63. A big win for the Counselors there. That was before the Cross State Classic. And so now we're going to be moving into some of the games for next week. But first, I want to remind you, go ahead and check out the TSJW Network website. It's tsjwnetwork.net. That is the website. That's where we have articles. We have the running standings. We've got scores. We've got schedules, all the like. If you're interested in MSAHA basketball, you should go to the TSJW Network website. It is tsjwnetwork.net. Go check it out today. So now we're coming up into a new week. Not a whole lot of games because we're coming into Thanksgiving break, and we will not have a show a week from today, as you know, it'll be Thanksgiving break, and so we'll come back after that for the tail end of November and December. But coming up in some 16U boys action, you got the Muddy River Counselors taking on the Meridian Flyers, and that will actually be tomorrow night in Hickory. And so the Meridian Flyers, they are winless thus far in 16U. The Counselors are undefeated in 16U and hold a tie for the number 1 seed at the moment. With the Hattiesburg Forerunners, which is the next game we're talking about, the Jackson Victors taking on the Hattiesburg Forerunners in 16U boys action. Hattiesburg undefeated. Jackson took a loss to PCA, also to Mount Zion as well. They're able to get a win over Meridian. And then finally for 16U boys action, the Laurel Nighthawks will go up to Tupelo to take on the Tupelo Titans on Saturday, and so that should be interesting. The Tupelo Titans, it'll be their first actual conference game. They've played some non-conference, and Tupelo they've got them some players, and they don't have an 18U squad this year, so they're definitely making this focus here on the 16U boys squad. So it'll be interesting to see what makes of that ball game between the Laurel Nighthawks and the Tupelo Titans. That will be on Saturday. And so for girls for the next week, I only have one matchup. That's the Muddy River Counselors and the Meridian Flyers. That will be tomorrow night in Hickory. That will be an 18U girls matchup. Meridian been competing hard with the top teams in the league, so that should be Meridian's got them a very solid team there. And so then 18U boys, we've got 3 matchups. We've got the Muddy River Counselors, Meridian Flyers. We had that game Saturday morning. The Counselors were able to get that win by a score of 82-42. So they won that ball game by 40 points. And so it'll be interesting to see that ball game. It'll be in Hickory, so you never know what happens when you go to somebody else's floor, though. So that'll be an interesting game to look at. The Jackson Victors and the Hattiesburg Forerunners. So the Forerunners undefeated so far in the league. They have not taken any losses. They're also 3-0 overall, so they are undefeated, taking on the Jackson Victors. And so that should be an interesting matchup there, right down there in Hattiesburg. Usually the Victors have historically in the past been able to beat the Hattiesburg Forerunners, but this year Hattiesburg coming back with a very strong team, so it should be a very interesting matchup there. That will be tomorrow night. And then finally, what's listed as the game of the week, we will be down there to broadcast it live on TSJW Network primetime ball game. The Scott County Flames and the Laurel Nighthawks. That will be down in Laurel, Mississippi. So we'll, Lord willing, we'll bring that game to you streamed right here on the TSJW Network YouTube. That is the Scott County Flames at the Laurel Nighthawks. It'll be the Laurel Nighthawks' first conference game of the season. The Scott County Flames have been showing that they can really compete here in this league, so it should be a very interesting matchup down there in Laurel. The Laurel Nighthawks have a very big team, and but Scott County's got some scores, so it should be an interesting matchup there, right there. And so that will wrap up the games that we're talking about for this upcoming week. But definitely try to make sure to watch the Scott County Flames and the Laurel Nighthawks game. That'd be Friday night. I think it's going to start at 7, but we'll have updates on that. And also check out the TSJW Network Instagram at TSJW Network. That is where we give you updates. We give you updates on these things, on these streams, when these streams are going up. So that will be posted on the Instagram. So if you really want to know when to tune in, check out the TSJW Network Instagram at TSJW Network. So here we go. So now we are ready for an interview right here. Right here with me, about to join me is Coach Chris Gygi. He is joining us. He is the Hattiesburg Forerunners girls head coach. Also assists with the boys ball club. So we're going to talk about both of those things coming in here in just a couple minutes here, or we'll here in the next few moments. So thank you, Coach, for joining us right here, Coach Gygi.
Hey, Trellis, how are you?
I'm doing well. So, Coach, first question I got for you. So, last season you had a solid team. You finished right around in the 4 seed there in the girls action there. You lost a couple of seniors, but you also still have your 2 tall girls in the middle, and then you also have some good young guards to accompany them as well. So far, how do you evaluate your team in comparison with last year?
So I'd say this year's team is a lot more resilient. They understand the expectations that I have of them, the consistency that we laid out last year. I think it's been really hard for them the last couple of years. Actually, I'm the 4th or 5th coach they've had in the last 5 years. So this last year and this year, for the first time they've had back-to-back years. So it's pretty hard. I don't care how talented you are as an individual or as a team. You have that many coaches, that many different perspectives. You can't really build any consistency at all. So I would say, from the perspective, they're exceeding my expectations. That first game we had against Meridian was a little bit of a tough loss. I think they kind of had a deer in the headlights moment, but those things happen.
Absolutely, and I was about to just ask you about that right there. So you're 3-2 so far on the season there with your 18U girls ball club, and your only 2 losses are to Saline County. Very good team. Team. We saw them knock off Laurel, and also that game you're alluding to right there, the Meridian game. So there are only 2 losses, and both those teams very good teams. So now, what did you learn? What did you and your team, your players, learn from those losses?
Well, I think number one is that they have to trust in what I'm telling them what to do. I have high demands and expectations for them. I don't think I place expectations on them that's beyond their capabilities. I think as far as, like, I'll give you, for instance, in a raw talent perspective in the States, my opinion that Anna Kate Hudson's probably the greatest raw talent for a female player in the state, bar none. And I understand who the players I'm referring to. Mariah up in Laurel is great. She is, but the guard down at PCA, Salome, she's solid. So, but as far as an overall raw talent, I rarely come across a young lady as talented as she is. I just think the thing that she hasn't had consistency year to year. If she had had a coach consistently for a couple of years, there'd be a lot of schools that'd be looking at her right now. She's that good, and I'm proud to coach her. She's a joy. She is absolute joy to coach. But again, she has to learn where her position. I mean, she has to be a leader, and that takes time. So I'm really proud to coach her.
Yeah, and so also a big thing that you got going on here is you got some really good young guards there in your backcourt. They've done very, very well. They're some of them are kind of playing up there for playing 18U because they're younger. They're younger than that, but they're taking on the top with the high school. Speak to the skills and abilities and just how far they've come so far. Just talk about your backcourt.
Well, I would say that the three young ladies that we're talking about are Janiyah Gamble, Emma Cotton, and my daughter Maddie Gigi.
Yeah.
Maddie and Janiyah just turned 13 this past weekend, and Emma turned 12 just recently. Um, those girls work all the time. I know
Yeah.
I'm talking to Emma's parents. She goes home and she watches film and she practices all the time. I know the facility that her dad had or their parents have uh, a place that they practice in all the time. It's just a little gym that the three of them. There's brother Charlie and Ruth and Emma, and they practice all the time. Janiyah, she plays pickup games with the boys over at Temple Church, and when I talk boys, we're talking high school and college level kids. And I've had a couple conversations with her. She learns that you know fouls on that court are not fouls. You get hammered, you get hammered. So she learns how to play through things. She's a talented young
Yeah.
lady, and from where she came last year to this year, um, phenomenal. But we would not be in the position that we're at right now, honestly. And I know I'm biased, but we would not be in the position we're at right now without my daughter. She's a floor general, and she works really, really hard at it. The demands I put on her, I would say that I'm pretty tough on all the kids, but I'm really tough on her. I don't ever want she started playing ball for me when she was in first grade, and she's
Yeah.
always played up, always. So she's played like when she was in first grade, she's playing against third, fourth, fifth, sixth graders, and she played in California. So this last tournament where the Victors hosted, Stacy Crosby hosted,
Yeah.
which was a phenomenal tournament. We were at that type of venue every weekend, and we would play 3 games every Saturday for let's see, 6 months out of the year. So that was just
Yeah.
we felt at home. We loved it, and so Maddie was excited, and Catherine, who the other my other daughter, who's one of the bigs inside was Anna Kate. We've just seen development, and we've just told them like we need more than one person. It can't.
Yeah.
It's not one person's team.
Mm.
We all have to chip in. And what you've seen this year is last year we had a hard time getting past 30 a lot of times. This year, we top 40 like I think 3 or 4 out of 4 times or 5 times that we played. And I
Yeah.
expect that much more. And a lot of it is just distribution, the way we run offense. And our defense, we're going to crank up some more. Man, they're just great. I mean, all of them, just great kids. And there's no drop off really from the starters to the bench players. They're just chomping at the bit. They want to get in as well. But man, I can't tell you how ecstatic I am at. I mean, how wonderful those kids are. They're really, really good kids. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. You can also tell just by watching them play for sure. And also, so when you're talking about the conference right now, talking about the whole league, when you look out at that field, the competition that you have to play against, what are some teams you're keeping your eye on, and what are the teams that you expect to really do well?
Well, the trend, the one that we got to beat is Laurel. I
Yeah.
mean, I think Sean, Coach Bradley has done a phenomenal job up at Laurel. When if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And case in point, when they played Saline County, they were down by 20 at halftime. And I warned the coach for Saline County. I said they're coming back. I'm roaring back. You cannot take them for granted. He went back and told their girls that, and they didn't disappoint. I mean, those girls, they held it together, and there was some calls that were definitely didn't go their way, but I would say as an overall perspective, they didn't fold at all,
Yeah.
and you're going to beat them. You better pack your lunch because they're bringing it. So I'd say that that's the goal. You got to climb the mountain. I would say they're very, very well coached. Scott Sherman over at Meridian has done a great job. He's got his daughter Emily and his daughter Sarah. They're the leaders over there. We got their 2 young guards, Lydia and Ella. they do a phenomenal job too. And we have, we've been blessed from the team perspective to have a really good relationship with the Meridian team. But I'd say, really that's where it starts. It's number one is it's Laurel. If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And then if you want to, and then, we got to beat Meridian. We had some close games last year. I think we lost 3 games by a total of under 5 points, or 5 or 6 points. It was, there's a couple of heartbreakers, but it is what it is. It was a rough year last year for us emotionally, but I think the consistency that we have, everything smoothed out a lot. So I'm excited for this year. I really am.
Oh yeah, for sure. And last question I have is that you also assist with the boys team, the Hattiesburg Forerunners boys team, and they've started off on a tear. They have won their 3 games. They're 3-0, and those games were a 53-point win. Last night was a 50-point win, and then it was a 20-point win. So just speak to how this boys team is and how strong they are.
Well, I think a couple of, one of the things you got to look at too in regards to those 50-point wins that you're looking at is you have the fact that you have a running clock, because once it hits 35, the rest, let's go. And that clock, so it doesn't matter what's going on. So, Paul Russell, his head coach, is a great leader, and those boys follow his lead, and he is even keel. Whereas I get fired up and I get loud, he keeps it tight. It's in the huddle. It's not to say that he's not impassioned. He's as passionate as a guy I've ever met. It's probably one of the, I'm thankful to call him a friend. He is a wonderful, wonderful man. I'll tell you one thing: anybody who the Hattiesburg boys play, they're going to have their hands full. I would. It is my estimation that we'll be in the state final with whoever. I mean, and I know there's some great teams out there. I know there's Muddy River. I mean, you guys got a great collection of young men. PCA has some solid kids, but Paul starts with defense first, and they don't stop. I mean, it is just a constant energy, and from, I would say, all the way down the line. Paul is very, very adamant. Like, I have to trust you to put you on the court, and defense is where it starts.
Yeah.
And so it's a plug and play, and they're ready to go. They're ready to rock and roll. So I don't see, like I said, I don't see off. They don't have off nights. If defense makes up for a lot of things, and like I said again, 2 of those, I think all three of those wins have been running clocks somewhere during that game. So I don't think it's an honest assessment of how talented they really are, because the games have to be sped up. Referees, once that 35-point thing is hit and the clock starts running, it doesn't stop. So as you well know, but those guys are quality kids.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so I did say that was my last question, but I actually have another one. So I'm going to preview. I want you to preview this ball game tomorrow night. So Coach Russell's out of town; he won't be able to head coach the ball game, and you guys are going to take. It's going to be your second conference game. Y'all are 1-0 so far. You're going to take on the Jackson Victors at home, and the Victors. They are a team that they can compete at a very high level. They got Jude Williams specifically. Shoot the lights out, and if he gets hot, that's a tough challenge there, and they'll compete with some really good teams and stuff like that. So, what do you expect from that ball game, and what's the focus of the team?
Well, I can't really control what the Jackson. I know that Stacy Crosby gets his boys prepared, so from that perspective, there's only limited things as far as I control. But I can tell you, having coached those boys, again being in practices, and when Paul's not been available, that we go hard at defense. I mean, that is the main focus, and we get in the passing lanes. I tell them, like, nobody can get comfy. You let a shooter get comfy, and he starts picking a spot. Especially if he gets hot, you're in deep trouble. Unfortunately, I was on the wrong end of that a number of years ago. We were playing a Reno tournament back in I think 5 or 6 years ago. We let a girl get hot. We were up 8, against one of the best teams, and at 8 minutes to go, and she lit us up, and we ended up losing by 10 or 13 or something like that. So my boys those boys will understand, like, we will play defense, and I tell you, they're pogo sticks. They never stop, never. So if I'm not giving any guarantees, but I'll guarantee you one thing: the victors will know that Hattiesburg knows how to play ball. That's a guarantee.
Oh yeah, for sure. And thank you very much, Coach, for joining us. Oh yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, for sure. And so that'll wrap up our show, folks. This is the MSAHA Basketball Weekly Show. And just remember, the game of the week is the Scott County Flames going down to Laurel to take on the Laurel Nighthawks. That will be live on the TSJW Network. Lord willing, we'll be down there for that ball game. So thank you for joining us. Be sure to subscribe to the TSJW Network YouTube. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button right now. Also check out the website, tsjwnetwork.net. Also follow the Instagram at TSJW Network. Thank you all for joining us. I'm Trellis Williams. We out.